So let's see. Scrolling, looking at stuff, seeing what's available. Kyle Hill shares Saber Spark meme about movie theater lobbies this week, and it's Dee Dee and Dexter standing there and like kind of like a Barbie versus Oppenheimer thing, and interesting comments. People talking about expecting one side to be on one political ideology and one side to be on the other, and instead both theaters are full of mixed crowds. It's very interesting. Another comment mentioned that the theater they worked at was scheduling the movie so that people could get out of Barbie and go see Oppenheimer, which is smart. My comment said Barbie versus Oppenheimer, battle for the number 2 spot, because the number 1 movie nobody's talking about. That's the one they're trying to sabotage, but it's not working. It's having a Streisand effect. I've been watching the House of Representatives committees the last couple of days. Yesterday they had the IRS whistleblowers under oath, and thinly veiled threats and such coming from the Democrat side, trying to discredit them as MAGA Republicans. They're both registered Democrats. The first guy that came forward, who went public immediately, is gay, openly, is married to a man. This is the Democrats' bread and butter. And they're trashing him for going against them. Because that's what the Democrats do. That's what the entire left side does. They eat their own. The word for that is auto-cannibalism. Watch that movie, Riddick. That's technically the 4th one in the series, I believe. And watch him slide under that monster and slice open, and the guts fall into the water, and the monster's like, huh, huh, huh. Oh, look, food, and it eats its own guts. That's the entire left side of the political spectrum. They eat their own. Not saying the right side's perfect, and I adhere to neither. Don't go call me one or the other, because I'm not. And if you can't handle that there's more than just those two extreme ends, you have brain damage. See a doctor. There are people who are going to argue that even though, well, first they're going to say none of that's true. None of the things these whistleblowers, which there's whistleblowers for pretty much every federal agency now, more than one for each agency, coming forward and saying, yeah, we noticed some things. We had red flags going off on our automatic systems, and our analysts were like, yeah, something's not right here. And we took it to the Department of Justice, and they said, yeah, we'll take care of it. And then nothing happens. Then they call the Department of Justice heads in to ask them questions, and I all play plausible deniability. Well, I wasn't aware of that, or that happened at a location where I wasn't in charge at the time, or I didn't know about that until after the fact. Convenient. They're finding massive money laundering, massive tax evasion, massive influence peddling, which is bribery. Working with adversarial foreign countries who are currently actively engaged in espionage against us as well as the looming threat of possible future military activity and conflict. And the people, including the president right now, that doddering old flesh suit with nothing much going on. There's something controlling him. You can see it lift up, that thing where he was sitting there mumbling. I think that was in Israel. He was sitting there mumbling. That guy. And all the people associated with him, the people that are instructing him, the people that are guiding him, the people who are related to him, are all engaged in this. Sedition, treason, capital versions of those crimes. Our government has a mechanism to handle that kind of stuff, except corrupt people, part of that brigade of bad guys, are in charge of it, and so they're not doing anything. So what has to happen is the House of Representatives and the Senate have to align. The Vice President is the President of the Senate, is the tie-breaking vote should they come to a tie. Right now the Democrats just slightly control, but there's people switching sides back and forth in the Senate. They would have to come together. They would have to be able to impeach and convict several top Department of Justice heads and get them replaced with people who are willing to do what the law requires and not just follow the law but do the right thing. And that's a start, because they also have to then, somewhere in that process, begin prosecuting people. And while they're prosecuting people, the House needs to then begin the process of impeaching both the President and the Vice President. Possibly several members of Congress, if they can prove that those people are connected. I think eventually this paper trail is going to lead to a bunch of Congress members being exposed as corrupt and paid for by the same people, for the same ends. All of those people guilty, in fact, of some type of sedition or treason of the capital variety. Many heads should be rolling from this. That should be a result. The government has a mechanism to do this, but corrupt people are in charge. So I've been watching. Yesterday they had whistleblower testimony, and all of the Democrat side of things was trying to throw shade at Trump or throw shade at the witnesses without attacking any of the claims. Just the witnesses. It's called ad hominem. If you are attacking the person and not what they're presenting, their information, this means that you are basically all but, it's like, tell me that you lost without telling me that you lost. You have no footing, no basis. Today was the weaponization subcommittee, and it was a laughable charade. They brought in three people who, the first was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The Democrats do not like him. He is running as a Democrat in the presidential primary. He is primarying the incumbent of his own party. And the party hates him because, like I said, the left eats its own. They will just self-devour if left to their own devices, leaving only a few, the most crazed, and certainly no one capable of carrying on their political ideology successfully. So he's running against that on their own party. A lifelong Democrat, the son of Robert Kennedy Sr. RFK was the one that was assassinated when he was the Attorney General, running for, I think, President or Senate or something. I think he was running for a Senate seat, and he got assassinated. And his son, who is at this congressing, RFK Jr., has talked before about the fact that the ballistics, the type of bullets, the locations of people supposedly involved, there is just as much tomfoolery and fuckery involved in the RFK assassination as there is in the JFK assassination. JFK, brother of RFK, of course, famously shot in Dallas in the head. They blamed it on Lee Harvey Oswald. There's the whole magic bullet theory, second gunman on the grassy knoll, back and to the left, right? And we all but know for certain at this point that the CIA basically did that. So we've got this corrupt federal government even going back with the people that are currently running it. And they are fiercely attacking this guy who is basically the embodiment of democratic America. He's someone that even Trump respects. And he respects Trump. And they just don't like that. They cannot deal with that either. That the two sides can be like, yeah, man, we can have a conversation easily. They don't want that. They want division. They decry other people for being divisive, but everything they do is division. That's gaslighting. Not only do they eat their own, they gaslight constantly. No, 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 no. You're wrong. You're racist. You're evil. For what? Well, for not being 100% in line with what I'm saying. Okay, but you're wrong. No, 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 no. I'm right, and you're mistaken and evil. That's how they are. Crazy. There's no logic, no rationality, no discussion to be had with people that are like that. And they're going to decry all these things, say that it's not true about the Bidens, about money laundering, tax evasion, bribery, treason. And once it's fully proven that it's true, that that is in fact the truth, and there ain't no getting around it, then they're going to say, well, it's not as bad as Trump, or but Trump. And I'm not sure there's any way to get past that. They have been so demoralized and reprogrammed, brainwashed for sure, that they hate this dude, but they cannot list actual valid reasons to hate a person. All they can say is vague, derogatory descriptions. He's a racist, he's a sexist, he's a homophobe, he's anti-Semitic, and he's a Nazi, even though his grandkids are Jewish. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. None of it matters. All that matters is they've been told that this guy is evil, is the big bad. And that's all they're going to go for. That's all they're going to listen to. Now they're going the same way with RFK. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing at this hearing. The ranking member defamed him in her opening statement. She defamed a witness in her opening statement. And his response was that it was defamation, what they were saying. That they cannot bring any proof of what they're saying, and he can in fact prove otherwise. And the second witness after RFK Jr. was a lady who worked for Breitbart who broke the initial Hunter laptop story. Had it confirmed at the time that it was real, had her account deleted, her story squashed. It was right before an election. She published the information. It turned out the FBI had had this thing for 10 months and just been sitting on it doing nothing. We'll take care of it. And then nothing happens. It's a pattern. It's a pattern. It's a definite pattern. It's an ominous pattern. It's a not okay in the slightest pattern. The third witness was an attorney who had successfully won a case suing the government for censoring people on behalf of several states' governments. He represented them in the Supreme Court, or a district federal court, I believe, and won an injunction from the court saying the government is to cease all of the following activities, and the following activities listed had to do with contacting social media and media networks, telling them what they could and couldn't say, and in the case of social media being like, you need to get rid of these people or get rid of these posts, all of which is flatly unconstitutional. The fourth witness was someone brought by the Democrat side, and this was an advocate for censorship under the guise of being an advocate of free speech. Canadian-style free speech. Because in Canada, they have a legal definition of hate speech. In America, they do not. Due to the scheduling of other votes and such, this committee meeting was not very long. But as soon as they got out of the gate and the ranking member had made her statement and the response had been made, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, you remember her? Hillary Clinton's campaign manager. She is the congressperson from, where was it? She represents the, what is the name of the county? The one where the school shooting happened. I'll remember it in a second. Anyways, it's a Florida county. It is the most corrupt county in Florida. Their sheriff's department has a Lamborghini Pursuit vehicle. Just saying. And that David Hogg, who's honestly a little too old and wasn't there that day, but had a video made at 9:30 in the morning pretending to be hiding from an event that did not happen until 1:30 p.m. That one, that town. That's where Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the ramen noodle hair lady, that's where she's from. A vile, vile person. She claimed that under House rules, people who had used racist or anti-Semitic language could be excluded from testifying, and that the committee would go into an executive session to investigate. In other words, trying to completely derail the actual weaponization committee. Now, here's the thing. Every single time that this weaponization committee, weaponization of the federal government investigation subcommittee, has had a meeting to discuss business and have witnesses, in every single one of them, there is a motion or an attempt at some kind of parliamentary procedure to silence and kick out someone who is supposed to be there as a witness. This is the literal dictionary definition of censorship. The people on the council are saying, we don't want to hear what that person has to say. We don't like that person. Therefore, under the rules, we're saying we have to kick them out and stop the meeting. And they keep doing it. The people who they've censored, who they say, hey, they're trying to censor me, they're like, that guy's crazy. Nobody's censoring him. And they immediately try and say he should not be allowed to speak. It was so blatant, but the news wouldn't really cover it. Unless you're like watching C-SPAN 9, you're not going to see it. These are the people that folks that don't know any better or keep their head in the sand and just listen to what's on the TV box and what the TV people say is what's real and what's true. And if they say, hey, that guy's bad, don't vote for that guy. Vote for the other one. Or whatever. Vote blue no matter who. Blue guys are the good guys. They vote in people like these. Now, in the whistleblower hearing, there was that great moment where Marjorie Taylor Greene pulled out actual photos of Hunter having sex, taking pictures of himself having sex with prostitutes who were part of a sex trafficking ring in Europe. Proof of crimes. Verification that this laptop is real. Here's actual pictures from the laptop showing actual crimes taking place, including human trafficking. And the argument from the people who are brainwashed or stupid or crazy on the left saying, but they still charged him. He admitted to some charges. If you know anybody that's like that, you know a fascist. That's fascism. The censorship, the attempts to ruin people's lives, and if those people had the power, if they had the balls, the nerve, the gumption, that I don't really think they do. They lack the spine in this. They are paid. They are paid. They are reading from scripts. When you watch these people make these impassioned statements about how Robert F. Kennedy is so evil and vile and racist, anti-Semitic, and blah, 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 if you watch when the camera shows their face, they are reading off a piece of paper. They are they're reading while they're doing it. So the IRS whistleblower situation got testimony on congressional record to go with everything else they're gathering up. Hopefully to clean house. And proof of crimes. Undeniable proof of crimes. And if you know anybody that says that human trafficking is okay, it's not that bad or whatever, cut them out of your life. No longer speak to people like that. Oh no, it's fine, it's better. That's not okay. Do those people also disagree with slavery? because that's what that is. It's just a kind of slavery. And of course, in today's, with the weaponization hearing, Thomas Massie had his moment where he was able to provide citation for things that Kennedy had been talking about to do with well-known scientific principles in virology that some diseases are more effective or less effective in the systems of people of different genetic ancestry and geographic origin. That the things that make people Asian in Asia and European in Europe, Native American in America, Amazonian in the Amazon, right? African in Africa. The things that have caused our species, the entire human race, to differentiate ethnically the way we have through the microevolution within environments and then macroevolution of that over time, have rendered slightly different immune systems and such, slightly different proclivities and susceptibilities and resistances, which are empirically backed. Not stating better or worse or whatever, but that in certain instances, certain disease may have been more harmful to certain groups of people than other certain groups of people. And that it has been studied and classified by government. This is the thing that Massie pointed out. These are government studies, government statistics. And studies by the people making the products. But they're looking at the effectiveness, they're looking at the illness, they're looking at all these things, and they're saying, okay, so people in this area were more affected, less affected. People in this area more affected, less affected. Let's look at the population demographics. Okay, well, according to the demographics, the people along this demographic were less susceptible due to ethnicity. Apparently, there's certain alleles or things that may have allowed them to be healthier, or people who got more sick. These were scientifically found. This is not just speculation. This is not just talking in word salad. But I haven't read the study, so I'm not trying to be that definite. But people who have read them were like, yeah, here's a bunch of science facts. They didn't like that. All of the questioning the Democrats did went to the one witness talking about the importance of removing untruth from all public discourse. And I'm not exaggerating. She literally talked about how things that aren't true should not be allowed to be out there. Coming from the most dishonest, disingenuous, and deceptive political movement ever. I think Hitler was pretty upfront about what he was trying to do. These people pretend to be doing right and good and looking out for bad. Everything they're doing is destructive. Everything. It was also pointed out after one faux pas about something that Donald Trump had supposedly been engaged in and other negative associations. There was a lot of guilt by association. There was a lot of, well, this super PAC claims to support you and says these things, and okay, I've never heard of them before. Well, are you sure about that? Well, my attorney has got back to me, and apparently they do give money to organizations that I associate with. I've never met them. I've never met with them. I've never received money from them myself. Nor will I do business with them if that is their thing. And then someone else, I don't remember who it was, brings up that Stacey Plaskett, the ranking member of the subcommittee on weaponization of government, being the non-voting delegate representative from the U.S. Virgin Islands, is the congressperson for Epstein Island's territory geographically, and that she herself worked both as a lobbyist on behalf of projects that Jeffrey Epstein was backing, but also worked for people who worked for Epstein as a private attorney. This was put onto the congressional record that Stacey Plaskett had a business relationship with Jeffrey Epstein's enterprise. No disagreement, no argument, no name calling, no nothing came after that. It was just a gulp. Yes, we all know. Because everybody knows by now, Epstein didn't kill himself. He might not even be dead. We don't know. This is part one. There's going to be a part two.